Hey, good morning. This is Heather Wissis coming to you live from Give Me Some Green, and this is our monthly coffee talk. We hold this session on the third Saturday of every month from 9 to 10, where we like to bring in wellness practitioners that offer information in areas that otherwise aren't well informed for people. And today I'm super excited to bring a friend of mine, Miss Tammy Schoolcraft. She's the owner of the Energetic Apothecary, and today we're going to be talking about Reiki and sound tuning and the benefits of that. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Tammy.
Thank you.
So one of the things we're going to do in the beginning is, I don't know the safest place to sit, because I normally can see myself on camera, and I can't today because I don't have guidance. So talk to me a little bit about where you got to this field, because people don't wake up on the journey of biofield tuning. So how did you get from where you started to where you are today?
Oh my goodness, so probably about 20 years ago, because I was thinking about that last night. Where did this all start? And when you become a mom for the first time, some things just kick in that you aren't expecting. And so having kids that are sick and you need to get them better, and the next thing you know, they're going to the doctor constantly and they're not really getting better, or they're getting sick again. So we had issues with medication side effects, and then we had issues with food allergies and ear infections. And what I learned very quickly that we were just kind of putting a Band-Aid on everything.
Right.
So I bought an otoscope to look in my son's ears for his ear infections, and that was one of the best investments I ever made, to be able to monitor that myself and know when I needed to take him to the doctor. And one thing led to another, and as they got older, I found Reiki. One of my sons was having anxiety, and I heard that it was would work for that, and I took him, and it was a wonderful experience. And
now, for those of you that don't know what Reiki is, could you give like a brief description?
Sure. So Reiki is a relaxation technique. It was rediscovered, so to speak, back in the early 1900s. It's been around for thousands of years. It's something that we've kind of forgotten about. Everybody has the ability to do it. It's like when you have a tummy ache, you put your hand there. When you have a headache, you put your hand there. The body knows what to do with touch, and it revolves around universal life force energy. And there's a lot of different names for that: chi, ki, prana. But it really is the energy that flows through everything, that everything is made up of. There's no woo to it. It's just energy. So electricity.
I have a great tool to demonstrate this to people. And I don't know if people can see this online. We'll do everything we can. I'll come over here just in case I'm not over there. So we bought this tool to show people that our bodies have energy in them. And the best way to do it is if you hold one end,
You ready?
and then touch fingers. You guys can see that light up. Now you might not be able to see that on film, but you guys can see it here. It's really showing people that when you make a full circuit connection, oh, she's got the big one. All right, so I've now been shown up by Tammy. Sorry, but it's, you see that? So it really teaches people that our bodies do have an electrical pulse. So for those of you out there, everything she's saying is scientifically proven, and I think that's a big thing with Reiki is people think it's hokey pokey. There's a lot of science behind a lot of these modalities that are coming into play again. So it's really wonderful that we have.
Yeah, and if we all
like
touched hands, that would still go, so it would go around the room. So you could have 50 people here and we all touched fingertips, and that would go off. So it really does come down to electricity. You know, when your heart stops, they jumpstart that with electricity. All of our cells have an electrical charge. So I believe that the energy that flows through us is electricity, and we're really recharging those cells in our body. But it creates a very deep relaxation. Some people call it an assisted meditation. And when the body relaxes, all kinds of wonderful things can happen. You know, headaches go away, pain disappears, you feel more balanced, you have more energy because you're recharging the body. We recharge way more, we discharge way more than we recharge. So, so I found Reiki, and it helped with his anxiety, and I learned how to do it myself. And then my husband said, okay, whatever this Reiki thing is, it's got a weird name. Your hands feel tingly all the time, but you're not yelling at me as much anymore, and you're not yelling at the kids, so just keep on doing what you're doing. So I did, not realizing how impactful it was going to be for me personally, and how deeply it was going to change who I was for the better. And then I idea that I was going to do this, that I was going to open an office, but I found a partner. We partnered together, a friend of mine, Mary Clements, and we created Reiki for Wellness. And Reiki for Wellness, so I have two hats. I have Energetic Apothecary hat, and then I have the Reiki for Wellness hat. And the Reiki for Wellness hat is, we are a team, and we service the medical community. We're actually at Levine Children's Hospital. We deal mostly with hematology, oncology, and rare blood disease, bone marrow transplant patients. And we are there 4 to 5 days a week. And then my other hat is Energetic Apothecary, where I do Reiki and also something called Biofield Tuning, a few other things that we'll talk about in a few minutes. So it's been fantastic. It's been incredible to be a part of the hospital and introducing a non-traditional integrative therapy into the traditional model.
Things are definitely shifting.
Absolutely.
You know, we have a lot of physicians that reach out to us for modalities, and they talked. I've had one physician come in here and mention that he had sent patients to you, and I thought that was incredible. So people are starting to really understand natural medicine and light and sound and nutrition as a form of wellness. So I think it's incredible. And I think a lot of people watching are going to be very surprised to hear that you work with the medical community. I know when they come into our facility and we tell them we're more of a clinical space, they're shocked that there are clinicians that want to work inside the CBD realm and inside the wellness realm that's outside that box that comes in the book created by Bear. So it's really fascinating. So I'm excited to learn a little bit more about the biofield tuning as well. So describe that for us.
So let me pull my little trick box over here. So biofield tuning is, it was developed by my teacher. Her name is Eileen McCusick, and she wrote a book called Tuning the Human Biofield, Healing with Sound and Vibration.
Now, what is a biofield?
So a biofield, this is our biofield. So first let me explain how she kind of discovered
For
this.
those of you, this image is actually posted on the event itself, and I will post a larger version of it because I know you can't read this. We'll make sure that you have this available to you.
So sound healing, just like Reiki, has been around for thousands of years. There's some really tuning forks, actually, which this is a tuning fork, so this is what we use. Just like you would tune an instrument, just like you would tune a guitar or a piano, we use a tuning fork to tune. The body can also be tuned. So it's based on the principle of resonance and entrainment, that a vibrating object will come into resonance with another vibrating object. So you can't really see that vibrating. This is the 54 hertz. That means this is actually moving 54, a little over 54 times per second. Per second. So that's a pretty. It's just like a you know, when the little vibrator things that you plug in for massages that you put on your shoulder. That's what it feels like when it touches you. But my teacher, actually, she was a massage therapist, and she started using tuning forks on the body, was having really good results with some relaxation of some muscles. And she accidentally kind of discovered that as she was coming back into the body on a client one day, she accidentally discovered that as she was using one of what this is called a unweighted fork, so it makes a sound. Okay, so there's some vibration there, but it's more tonal than it is vibrating to us, to what we can perceive. So it vibrates just like the weighted fork, but the barrels on the end of this fork actually dampen the sound. Okay. So it sends the vibration through the stem. It harnesses the sound, I guess you would say.
Okay.
So as she stepped away from the body and came back in, she noticed that when she came back like this, all of a sudden the tone went, I don't remember if it was really sharp or really low, but it was very interesting to her that there was a difference in the change of sound as she came back to her client. And what she found over the last 23 years, I believe it is that where we think that we hold these memories and emotions of events that happen to us in our mind, because the mind is always so busy, is that it actually is kind of out here in this empty space. And so back in the 90s, the National Institute of Health, in order to take the woo-woo out of this area around our body that we can't see, they coined the term biofield. So that is, some people will call it the aura, but it really is the space around our body. So if you walk into a room where there's been an argument, but they're not arguing anymore, but you walk in and you're like, whoa, what in the
What
world
just
is going on
happened
here? Your bubble is feeling the bubble of the
Oh,
room.
I felt that.
It's a
You
bubble.
walked it past that person and you're like,
Yeah,
wow.
when you walk somebody and you
Maybe
get
not
a
somebody
bad
I wanna talk
vibe.
to.
Yeah, you get a bad vibe off of somebody. It's your bubble is reading the energy of the room. It's reading what happened. Every cell in our body, and we have trillions of cells.
Is that kind of like when you can feel someone looking at you?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Well, because your cells have little antennae. Every cell, these trillions of cells that we have, they have little antennae on them that are reading, kind of like a snake uses its tongue to read the energy of things that are around them. But what she found, she actually found that there was a pattern. So she started using the forks more and more. She found that there was a pattern in this empty space, this bubble around us. And what she found was that events that happen throughout our life are they seem to be stored there, that have emotional charge to them. So as she worked further and further, this is called a toroidal shape. So it's kind of like a donut. So you're eating a donut there. You have the hole in the middle. Your body is kind of in the hole here. So it has an outer membrane. Every cell on this planet, even plant cells down to the smallest cell, has this shape and has this toroidal shape and this outer membrane. And so what she found was that the outer edge of our shape here holds our birth story, whatever mom had going on at the time. And that kind of sounds a little woo-woo to people, but it seems to be, as we have over 1,000 tuners now across the world, is that we find the same thing with every person that comes into our office, is that the outer edge of this field, this empty space that we walk around in, holds birth and gestation, and as you move to the body, it's your present age. So if you're 40 years old, halfway through your field would be about 20 years old, and in between that time, the years of your life fall like the rings of a tree.
How big?
Typically, it's about 5 to 6 feet.
Each way or total?
Each way. So we have
like 10 feet?
Typically, no, 5 feet to each side.
Okay, so it's like 5 this way.
Yeah.
So it's about
4.5 to
the
5.5.
big 10-foot
We have a
circle
big
around
bubble.
us.
We have a big bubble. So our bubbles right now, because we're in close proximity to one another, are all it's vibing, it's talking to one another. And some people who have been sick will have a smaller bubble. Their life force energy has been depleted. They don't have a lot of energy, so they'll pull in. People who have traumatic things that happen to them will pull in their energy field.
Now, can you make your energy field
Sure.
larger?
Yeah.
Can people expand past the average 5 foot?
Most people that do that
So
are
this is
people
pliable.
that meditate, but typically it stays about, in the resting state, it typically stays about that, that 5 to 6 feet. But people who meditate, people who do a lot of inner healing work, their fields will be very expanded. So as the years of your life fall like the rings of a tree, so if at 10 years old your parents got divorced and that was a huge deal to you, we'll actually, as we bring the forks across here, we'll hear the tone will change in the fork. So your body is essentially listening to itself, just like a dolphin uses echolocation. When you come across and find the edge of the field and you move in close to the body, we'll find things in your timeline that have emotional charges to them that you don't realize you're carrying. I kind of call them these big invisible empty suitcases that we walk around in. And so what are those things? They're just, emotions usually.
Just little things.
They're little things.
Like
garden
memories that you tell people. I was in a group once and we were talking and this woman said, we were talking about shamefulness. And she went back to a memory from 3rd grade when her math teacher told her, you'll never understand numbers, don't try.
Yeah.
And it stuck with her and now she's awful. It created this program, this loop that she consistently plays.
It's a pattern.
So it's the same,
and
that's kind of what you're talking
you pull
about.
from that pattern throughout your life. And so guilt and shame happens to live off the right side of the body, about the area of the sacral chakra.
Okay.
For people who don't know what chakras are, there are energy centers that in the Eastern tradition hold different things, energy. So for example, the root chakra is at the tailbone. It's usually seen as the color red. And then it has to do with our overall energy, our sense of security, our feeling of groundedness. And then the sacral chakra has to do with sexuality, self-worth. But what Eileen found was that on the left and the right side of these energy centers, that there were typically patterns of these emotions that are held for just about everybody. So off the left side of the heart, for instance, happens to do with sadness, grief, loss, depression. So you'll hold those events that have to do with that throughout, from your birth all the way to your present age. And what biofield tuning does is allows the body to hear itself. Just like I was talking about the dolphin that uses echolocation, we're bouncing sound waves through your energy field. And as you come across, it reads, the forks read your energy field like a needle on an album. So, and sometimes that music is smooth jazz, and sometimes it's Jaws, you know, depending on what's happened in your envelope of life. So, and so as you say that, you know, fear has its own sound. Depression has its own sound, and the person on the table a lot of times can hear the change in that tone. So depression is very low, just like, you know, Eeyore, you know, it's very low. Fear has a pulsing quality. Almost to me, it sounds like a siren, like there's a fire truck in the distance, almost, or an ambulance. And so all the different emotions have different qualities of sound to them, and you may not know what that is when you're on the table having the work done, but you can hear the tone change. And what it does is it allows, I kind of look at it as, well, first of all, it's all energy that we could be using today that we're carrying around that we have no idea. So I tell the story of my son. Hopefully he never sees this, so he might be upset if he heard me tell this story. But when he was little, I was furious with him. And I don't remember why. He was about 6 years old. I was so mad. I was not a proud mommy moment by any means, and I was just giving him the business. I was letting him have it. And there was a pencil on his, so this is a vulnerable moment for me. There was a pencil on his table, and I picked it up, and I just snapped it. And the look on his face was that I had broken his heart. First of all, here's mom. She's screaming at him, and I break it. And his interpretation at 6 years old is that I break him. You know, it was my frustration. It wasn't him. And so, you know, he laughs when I tell that story because he does not remember that happening. But I said, okay, I know that you don't, but someday you're going to be in somebody's office like mine, and they're going to say, what happened when you were 6 years old? And you're going to be like, Mom, Mama broke my pencil. You know, because I know that that is still there. And even though it sounds kind of silly, I broke his pencil, yeah, he cried. I mean, for him at 6 years old, that was a big deal.
Oh,
it was huge.
I'm pretty sure when my daughter sits on your table one day, it'll come up that I yelled at her when she cut her own hair.
Oh, yeah.
Or the time she carved in my box, and I'm like, okay, you're gonna carve something of mine? We're gonna learn a lesson. I'm gonna carve something of yours. She never carved anything in any of my wood objects ever again, but I'm pretty sure that that's gonna be in her forever. So when those things come up, this is my vulnerable moment. I know that they're there.
Well, and there's no telling what patterns that we create from that moment. What pattern did I help to create in his life that he pulls from that is not a very positive pattern? Right, so, and the good thing is that there's biofield tuning, and it can help to resolve that. And what it does is it lightens it, and it allows us actually to bring it back to the body, because really these are undigested emotions. They're just sound waves, and people have their own stuff. Everybody has, their envelope of life is different, but just because your envelope of life, I'm not saying you, but you know, another person's envelope has some super, really crappy things that happen to them. My envelope of life, I had some crappy things too, but if you were to put them on a bulletin board and compare them, they may not be comparable, but just your stuff is no less than mine, and mine is no less than yours.
How your body carries it.
How your body
carries it.
carries
So I want to make sure I understand. So even though the situations might be different, how my body responds, whether it's a breaking pencil or a breaking heart.
Absolutely.
That emotion is tied to it regardless of how big or small the actual action was.
Yeah, exactly.
So what I'm hearing is when you do biofield tuning, it's not that it goes away, except for instead of it being this big, it's this big. And you can take it and say that you can acknowledge it instead of carry it. There's a difference.
Yep.
Am I hearing that right?
It is. And it doesn't take it away, but it neutralizes the emotion so that it's not such a big deal. So that when you think about that time that you know, that you were shamed into whatever, before it would make you feel crunchy inside, after the biofield tuning, typically it unravels that. I think look at it like a little bundle of Christmas lights that are all tangled up and just kind of you're really trying to get in them and undo them. That it removes the charge, the emotional charge that's attached to it, so that you can look back on it and go, oh, okay, that happened. All right, it's not such a big deal.
So it turns it into acknowledgement versus emotional charge.
Okay. So in addition to being able to lighten your load, because people typically who feel stuck in life, pain will disappear because everything really has an emotional component to it. People don't like to hear that, but it's true. Stress, just emotions cause stress. Stress then causes the heaviness in the body and causes the wonky things to happen and us to get sick because we really have a very low electrical charge because of the stress and because of these things that we continue to carry with us. So what it does is it allows us to lighten that load. It increases the electricity, allows for your body to be able to take in this electricity that's all around us that we constantly are, doing all that discharging and not enough recharging. And when the cells get low, that's when it comes time, you get sick. So it's a twofold. It's an overall wellness tool.
That you work with? For me, it kind of feels like people that have been living with this for a little while are going to have a lot more to uncover.
They do, sure. Their envelope of life is going to be more full. So a 70-year-old will have the same biofield distance as a 2-year-old. And patterns are definitely more ingrained because you're pulling from those patterns up until 70 years old, whereas a 10-year-old only has 10 years. A 10-year-old has much less to pull from, even those events may be big or small, whatever. Those aren't quite as ingrained and set in as someone who is 70. So each practitioner has a different, not criteria, they draw to them people that can help them. So some people, I work with a lot of kids, in addition to adults, but I kind of see the gamut. Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
So with your experience with children, and I find this absolutely fascinating, now we talk about some of these rings happen at a really young age. If you can address those in a child at a younger age, have you, in your experience, seen that change the shift or the direction of their life?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
So you feel strongly about this being really important to start at a younger age for kids?
I think that it would, yes.
Did you hear that, kid? My kids are in the back.
It definitely creates a shift for them. But, it's really for any age. The only people that we don't work with in biofield tuning is people who have who are currently receiving cancer treatments.
Why is that?
There's some reasons around that because this kind of work can create a little bit of a detox. We call it a healing. It's not really a healing crisis, but your body has to release somehow, and sometimes that makes you not feel good for a day or two. And sometimes you go home and you want to rearrange your garage and you have all of this energy, but how your body processes through what it hears, right, as it's going along is different for everybody. So part of the reason for that is we don't want to inflict anything else on somebody that is already compromised. And when you get done with cancer treatments and you want to come in because there's a lot of PTSD around cancer, then absolutely for survivorship, fantastic. But while you're actually receiving those treatments, we stay away. And there's been no real studies done on that. And we also don't work on anyone who's pregnant or terminally ill.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, anybody. There's been no studies that you have another being inside you. We don't want to, that we just don't know. We just don't know. So
pets. Have you ever worked on?
Oh yeah. Yep, actually I have horses. My dog is not a big fan. He likes the sound forks. He doesn't like the weighted forks. So, but pets are good. They really like.
Because I would imagine they're more open-hearted because they don't have any predisposition of how this should feel or look or.
Yeah, so. He used to come and sit. Our dog that we have now would come and lay underneath the table when I was working. But if I were to get out one of these forks, he's in the other room. The vibration just doesn't. He doesn't like it. He doesn't like it at all. Horses love it. You can tune. You can tune birds. You can tune, wildlife. You can tune just about anything. Water. Yeah. So it's quite a fascinating.
You can tune water.
Sure.
Why would you tune water?
So water holds energy. It holds emotions. If you look up Dr. Masaru Emoto's work, he actually did some work around speaking to water. So he did the I hate you, I love you.
You're blocking the ladies.
No, you're.
She asked me to see it, blame her.
He did work around the I hate you, I love you.
With the icicles.
With the
Yes,
smoke,
yes, yes.
and freezing the water molecules and looking at them afterwards. So his last name is Emoto. You can go look at his work, and so you can tune water. Water holds energy. It's a record keeper.
There's actually a show on Netflix talking about his studies, and I want to say it's like What the Water or something like that. But it's a really interesting documentary talking about this very topic. And we talk about living water for alkalinity reasons, but this takes it to a whole
Your
new
body
level.
is 99.9999% water by molecule, not by volume. That's the 70-something%, but by molecule. Our bodies are filled with water. So we are encoding and imprinting by our voice, by what we speak and what we think. We're telling our body really what we want. So when you say, I'm stupid, your body doesn't know the difference between you being really stupid and you telling it. So it will believe that. So it's very important that we are mindful of the words that we speak, of the thoughts that we think. And part of the forks is it's vibrating into every molecule of your body.
So here's an
And it holds an
interesting.
electrical charge.
I have 4 brothers, and all of them served in the military. And my youngest brother and I were having a conversation about violent video games. I'm sure every mom has an opinion about violent video games. I don't care for them, but we were talking once about a game. I won't say who. I got in trouble for saying that once on another audio. But there's a violent video game out there that there's a lot of children that play this now. It's a very popular game, and we were discussing it. And he goes, those games were developed by the military to desensitize us when we go into battle. So they weren't really ever designed to be games for children, because for that exact reason, your mind doesn't know the difference. So when they're submersive in these video games, and they're very graphic, and there's a lot of killing and a lot of hate and a lot of pain, it desensitizes them so that when they go out in the field, they can respond properly, because they're not having that natural human shock response. They're responding. And now we've turned these into games. At Christmas time, they're everywhere. So it kind of goes back to that scenario that what you think and what you see, your mind doesn't know that's a video game. Your mind thinks that person that was just shot on TV,
absolutely.
On some level, it believes that experience has taken place. So,
we're kind of taking
just to kind of prove what you're saying is that's, and then if you look at statistically the number of teenage violence in association with when the release of these violent video games came out, it's actually really profound. It's literally increased like this with the rollout of some of these very aggressive type games. And it goes in line, you can actually track crime and emotional states with TV shows, and who watches TV shows and what kind of TV shows are aired. They did a pilot, I want to say it was in Alaska, where they showed nothing but heavy cop and drama shows for 3 months straight, and they noticed an increase in illness, an increase in depression, drug abuse, crime. It was just really fascinating. Poor city had to go through this, but it's just, we need to start to find measurable ways to track this so that we can change what we're putting out to the world, both on TV and in video games. So it's fascinating.
We're taking that a little step further at the hospital, because we bless our food, for especially those of us from the Christian tradition, well, really from any tradition, it doesn't really matter, sending blessings to our food. And so I bless our water all the time. But taking that a step further in the hospital, we have our kids who are on chemo, and they have bags of saline that are run into them constantly, and the bags of chemo. There's no reason that you can't bless those bags while you're standing there, and you can physically, energetically change the structure of what that is. So instead of drawing something into your body or letting something run into your body that has this nickname of the Red Devil or this, horrible stuff, which I'm not saying that it's good, I'm just saying that changing the intention of what that is very important. So I created some, we call them empowerment stickers or power stickers that we can actually put on the bags, that we're in the process of bringing that together. So we put them on the chemo bags, and it says, I am powerful, my body is powerful, because you're telling that liquid, everything is essentially a molecule of water. You're telling that as it runs into your body what it is, not that it's this horrible thing. So you're changing the mindset of, this is gonna be what helps me. Now, am I advocating for, all of those medications? No, because I definitely am of a more natural standpoint to where we do, I haven't been to the doctor, I can't tell you when, other than being at the hospital around doctors, so I treat things in a different way. But it is important that you look at things in a different way of not just your self-care and your self-talk, because a lot of us have this inner critic that's constantly chirping in our ear that we're not good enough, or that we can't do this or we can't do that. And if you take anything away from this today, I want you to take away is that your body is way more powerful than we've been led to believe. And we have this ability, our body knows what to do, it knows how to heal itself, it just has to have the right components to do that. One of them is electricity, one of them is electricity and energy, and the other are, it's nutrition, and that's a whole other story. But given the right circumstances and the right elements, your body we make our own Band-Aids. When you cut yourself, immediately the skin starts to knit back together and it clots and the scab forms. That is a Band-Aid. When you break a bone, within seconds, it starts to knit itself back together again. So given the right things, the body can do incredible, incredible things. So thinking, I call it thinking outside the pill box, is that there are so many integrative therapies that you can try, and I think people give up on them so quickly because they think it's weird, or they try it once and they didn't get this results just like that, just like taking a blood pressure pill and it goes down automatically. Integrative therapies don't quite work the same as that. They do take a little bit of time. Now, there are people who seek dramatic results in one session, but typically your body didn't get this way overnight, so you can't expect it to completely flip overnight. So given whether it's acupuncture or tapping, and I'm saying all kinds of different names.
Massage. We tell people it took 9 months to grow a human being.
Right.
Sometimes it can take 9 months.
And with CBD,
to
you some of the CBDs, you get a nice natural mellowness with it, but other times for chronic things, you're going to need to take it for a little bit longer. So whatever therapy or integrative practice you try, just give it a chance. Give it a few sessions at least before you
don't go on
say.
one day and get married.
Exactly.
Exactly. Right? You don't go on one day and get married. You go on a few and you figure, hey Daryl, would you please turn the heat on? Thank you so much. I'm looking at all the blankets going, okay, so it is clearly, I am not the only one. I'm thinking menopause. Is it hot? Am I cold? I don't know which way I'm going anymore. So can we do a demonstration?
We can. Do I have a volunteer? So here's the,
you want to come? Yeah, come on in.
So this is just going to be, and everyone at home, whoever's watching, can participate in this. So just have a seat there, Miss Barbara. And I'm going to kick my shoes off. Even though this floor is going to be cold, I don't like to wear it too. Yeah, I'm good. Actually, it's not as cold as I thought. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to do a little grounding exercise. So we have this energy center that actually runs below the bottom of our feet. We call it the Earth Star Energy Center. And we have, back in the 40s and 50s, they put us in rubber-soled shoes. They created KED, tennis shoes, and we started wearing those. So that created some insulator. Rubber is an insulator. So it insulates our energy field from the earth. And the earth is actually where we take up negative electrons and we discharge stress through our body. And when we put rubber on the bottom of our feet and we walk around on it, that isn't allowed to happen. So that's why you feel so much better when you go to the beach and you're walking barefoot.
In addition, I was raised by a hippie, so I'm
so
like,
you're
in a bad mood. Take off
right?
your shoes and go run in the yard. And I'm like,
yeah.
What does that have anything to do with life? When she goes, take off your shoes, go outside. And as now and as an adult, I look back at all these silly things my mom would make me do. And I'm like, she really knew some stuff. Sorry, Mom, you actually knew some stuff.
Right. So, and then we raised our houses on the crawl spaces, so we have another disconnect. Right. So the one thing that we do is we activate this energy center, and we let the electricity kind of flow up through, and we do that with the sound of the fork. And everything goes back there. So I just want you to take a big deep breath first, and so we're just going to do. How much time do we have?
You got like 20 minutes.
Oh, good. Okay, we're good. All right, so I just want everybody to take a big deep breath in, filling up those lower lobes of the lungs, and then draw your awareness on the exhale all the way down to the bottom of your feet. And you're going to hear me do a lot of big, deep breaths. This is called a discharge breath. And it's really a breath to allow the flow of energy to flow through. So we're going to do a couple of those. And then if you hear me take a big breath, then that's an invitation for you also to take a deep breath. Because all of us are sharing our energy bubbles in here. And because we're all in here together, everyone's energy is affecting one another. And sometimes you'll feel a little nervous inside, especially when we get into a spot with the forks. You'll start to feel a little, okay, what is this going on in here? So the best way to negate that and evolve that is to breathe through it, all right? So we're gonna do those breaths. I want you to just draw your awareness down to the bottom of your feet, and everybody who's watching can also do this. I want you to hear the sound of that fork, or hear the sound of this fork, and it should translate pretty well into video. Over the phone, it loses a little bit of tone. But I want you to imagine that on your inhale, that you're drawing light up through the bottom of your feet. Like you're lighting up your entire body. And so we're sending light all the way up your feet, your legs, all the way up into your spine. We call that the main energy channel. This is called activating your inner lightning rod. And it's going to go all the way up the spine, through the neck, and it comes out the top of the crown like a whale spout or a fountain. And just on the breath, and I want you to notice what you feel in your body, because most of this is our own sensations. We are so externally drawn so many times that we don't pay attention to what's going on in the physical body until we get a pain. And then when the pain comes, we're like, what the heck is that? And your body's like, I've been trying to tell you for 3 weeks that you're walking crooked, or you're overusing that wrist in the kitchen, or you're cleaning too much. So I use that one all the time. I tell my husband, I'm cleaning too much, I gotta stop. So drawing that up, noticing if anywhere in the body feels like there's a little heaviness or a tingly or stuckness, and just kind of focus on that area with the breath just a little bit until you can feel that go all the way up and out. And if you can't imagine that, it's okay, because it's going to happen regardless, with or without you. And then I want you to imagine that, because we're all sitting here, I want you to relax the muscles around your tailbone, around your sits bones. Just kind of feel a heaviness there, feel a little tug. And I want you to imagine that you have an anchor on your tailbone, just like a ship anchor. And in just a moment, I want you to drop that anchor into this imaginary ocean. And you want to do that after you take a big deep inhale, and then you start to let that go. And I want you to feel that anchor drop straight from the tailbone. I want you to see it break the surface of the ocean water, this beautiful clear blue water, and it plunges down to the depths of the ocean, to the white sandy ocean floor. Good job. And when it makes contact, I want you to feel a little tug there at the tailbone, and like you have a little bit of a line, a little bit of that anchor chain. And then on the in-breath, I want you to draw back up from that anchor from the bottom of the ocean floor. Imagine that light is coming back up into your body, all the way up that anchor cord, feeling that tug at the tailbone just a bit. Bring that light back up into your body. Good job. All right, and then we're going to move to the top of the head. So people who have had concussions, this is an incredible technique for that, because we have congestion around the top of the crown area where that concuss is taking place. And it will clear out that energetic stagnation there. So drawing your head up above the top of the head, the top of the crown, about 10 inches or so. And I want you to imagine that the top of your head is a beautiful flower. Whatever flower comes to mind. And you open that up to the sound of the fork, just like the sound is sunlight. And you allow that to flow in through the top of the head. So we're going to go in the opposite direction. This is called your Sun Star Energy Center. This is our connection to source energy, to the universe, our relationship with time, with not feeling like we have enough time, of feeling like we're pressured for time. That all is in this area. And so if your body was a rechargeable battery, which it is, the top of your head is the positive polarity and the bottom of your feet is the negative polarity. So we are recharging from the earth, recharging from the universe, discharging through the earth. And we're letting that light just filter in the opposite direction all the way down to the feet. And take a deep breath for me, everybody, all the way in and let that out. All right. And so then, everybody okay? All right. Then we're just going to go to the shoulders here for Barb. You let me know if this is too much, too little. And so these are weighted forks, so they have the barrel on the end of them. So that was our activation of our Earth Star and our Sun Star. It allows for that flow of energy to go through the body. That was just me hitting the fork too hard. That was a bit of a clank, sorry. So I want you to take a deep breath for me, all the way in. So as in a typical session, we would go through, at least for biofield tuning, and just to clarify, for Reiki and for the other tools that I have in my toolbox, I have some other things, there are no contraindications for any of those. Biofield tuning is the only one where we don't use it on cancer patients, although tuning forks themselves can be used for pain. I've integrated some of this into the hospital with a fork that is really good for pain. But the technique that is so unique to biofield tuning is our map. It's our biofield anatomy map. Nobody else has this particular map. This is all discovered by Eileen and her research over the last 24 years. So this is what makes this particular technique so unique, is that we actually find the edge of the field and we comb through it, as what we're going to do in just a second.
So what are we doing to her
So right
shoulder?
now I am just relaxing her shoulders. Right now we're just sending some energy through with the weighted forks. These vibrate, so it feels like I have, how does that feel to you? Feels good? Yeah, a little bit more pressure, or not enough pressure? Yeah. So we're just sending some vibration through the body. The body knows what to do with this frequency. This is frequency. So when you listen to the radio, people, you're doing this already to a certain degree. When you listen to the radio and you hear a song
that makes you feel
it makes
really
you feel
good.
yummy inside, or it makes you feel like you just want to go cry your eyes out because it reminds you of someone. That is frequency. That is vibration. That is sound that is coming through, and your body, every cell in your body is responding to that from an emotional standpoint, and physiologically it is changing you. So that's really what these are doing. They just do it at a specific vibration and a specific frequency, and you don't have the melodies attached to them and the words. But it really is reading the song of your life as it comes across from the edge of your field to your body. So if anybody notices that they're starting to hold their breath, I want you to take a deep breath, because anywhere there is stagnation in the energy field, where the energy is not moving, you will, maybe out of camera, I'm not sure, you will have, there's a lack of breath there. So anytime you have a pain, you should breathe into that area. So we're just going to come, so if you look at the anatomy map, the right side of the heart, which is that green dot in the middle, which is the heart chakra. Yep. So the left side. I'm backwards.
I was like, coming from this side. So this is the maternal side.
This is the maternal side. So what she discovered was that on the left side of the body, we have two fixed anchor points that are about the space of the elbows. So right here, where this elbow sits, and right here. And most of the stuff in the field can be moved. It actually can be moved along back to the body. So even though that sounds, because I'm just out here waving a tuning fork, what the heck is she doing? What is she talking about? So so for me, as you come across the field,
feel a difference? Like we can't hear.
Yeah, you can't hear it.
Feel the fork change.
Yeah. So actually, let me use this just so you can hear just a little bit. So right there where it got a little bit high, that's the edge of her field. Okay, so that is birth and gestation. So whatever mom had going on at the time will be held there. Her birth story is actually held there. Take a deep breath for me. So if mom was anxious and nervous, that's going to reflect
Oh, I
back.
heard that. There's a little twinge there.
And as you come across, and I don't want to come too much, but we'll find, like right there is another one. And so if I were to map her age, which I would do in a regular session, because people like to know that we're really accomplishing something here, and if that, whatever age we stop on, and we won't stop at ages today, I would be able to say to you, okay, at 8 years old, if I'm not able to get it to move, if I'm not able to resolve it, let's use the word resolve. If I'm not able to do that, I would say, okay, 8 years old, does that bring up anything for you? And the beautiful thing about this is you can, one, tell me, because a lot of times the body wants to hear you acknowledge that something significant happened, and it doesn't have to be anything super traumatic. Remember we talked about the pencil. It can just be that,
whatever you're attaching your energy to.
Maybe your dog died when you were 8 years old. Maybe, mom yelled at you and it was something that has kind of stuck throughout all these years. Or maybe you moved. Maybe you changed schools. Those are always stressful. There's a lot of emotions that are attached to them. So, does 8 years old bring up anything for you? And you can either, one, tell me, you don't have to, or you can just say, I know what that is. And usually that's enough to let us move through
Just
this.
that acknowledgement.
Yep, just that acknowledgement. And so your body is listening to itself. We're bouncing sound waves off. So you still can't hear, but taking a deep breath for me, because I see you taking the breath, yeah. And so we're just going to gently bounce through the field here. And when I say field, I mean biofield, this empty space. And so what are you noticing in your body? Anything? You don't have to. If you don't notice anything, it's okay.
I notice my heart is tingling.
So different people will feel different ways. Some people feel very tingly. Some people get very emotional. Some people fall asleep. Some people will come in and they'll go right to sleep. And that's okay. We like for it to be more of an interactive process. Because you learn a little bit more about yourself.
I think I fell asleep when I went to see you.
I think you did, if I recall correctly. And the body needs to do that sometimes. Sometimes you come in and you're just exhausted, and sometimes the body needs to go to sleep,
Just brought on
to do the work. Yep. So, and some people are so energized and relaxed throughout the session, they get up and they go home and they're like, oh my gosh, I went home and I slept the best night's sleep ever. And typically the way that you feel afterwards, my head's hurting a little bit right here. Have you breath for
What
me?
does that mean?
Huh?
What does that mean?
I don't know, but the right side of my head just started to hurt just a little bit, little tinge there. It's just a sticky spot. We call them sticky spots. What was I saying?
When you go home?
So some people go home and they just feel super chilled and relaxed. But usually on the back side of that doesn't last very long, the tiredness or anything like that, and you feel lighter. You feel, people will, I have quite a few clients who have gotten job offers all of a sudden. They were working on being stuck and not being able to find their right job, and then they come back the next week and they're like, oh my gosh, I got 3
Now, is
job
that
offers.
an affirmation that they work
They
through
can.
with you, or does that just come up by relieving this blockage?
Look, you can come in.
And for those of you, if you can't see what Tammy's doing, she's
Sorry.
using one of the weighted forks right now and running it up and down through the field, trying to find where there's an energetic block,
I'm gonna
or
come to that other side over there.
some stickage or something of that nature.
So the left side of the heart has to do with sadness, grief, loss, depression. Those are typically the emotions that hang out on that side. And then the left side of the throat has to do with, hold on just one second. Things that which we don't say or express. So biting your tongue, wanting to say things but not, and we stuff that down. A lot of people who have thyroid issues will have issues off this left side of the throat. There's a throat filter that forms.
So the field is in every direction,
Well,
or
yes.
is it just?
So it's out to the left and the right, but our energy centers, if this was the end of your chakra, say like the little circle show up there, picture it like the bell of a trumpet, you know, that you blow through a trumpet, the horn part that the sound comes out of. The energy also flows out from our body and back around. It's a little bit more hard to imagine for some people, but you could go online and just search chakras.
It's kind of like
So it goes up, you have this toroidal shape, so it goes.
So all
You
those
have
motions
this-
you make in yoga
Yes.
are like pretty
yes.
much tracing that energetic field. Is that a safe way to word it?
Yep.
Which is why I always felt weird when they like go like this in yoga. I'm like, that doesn't feel natural. I feel like I need to soof. How are you
And so-
feeling? Tingly.
Tingly. Yeah. So it's not uncommon because we start moving this energy around. Things have been stuck. That's where these pains come from. The energy is just stuck in those areas. Not uncommon for people, like I have a right hip issue that flares up every once in a while. And if you go by the anatomy chart up there, the right side of the root chakra, which is the hip area, has to do with busyness, overdoing, and overthinking. And sometimes my mind just chatters on and on about all the things that I need to get done. And so that right hip, when it starts to get a little twingy there and not feel so good, I know that I need to go and have my moment. I need to go and be quiet and try and quiet things down.
Now, while you're doing that, what did you bring us today?
So that's just a little sheet on Biofield Tuning, what that is.
Do you have a soft copy of this so I can share it with the Facebook group, and they can, for those of you that can't grab one today, we'll get a soft copy from Tammy and make sure that you can get a copy of this as well, because she was kind enough to offer put a value offer on here for you if this is something that you wanted to try and experience for yourself. I can tell you, I'm not the one getting tuned right now, but I can feel I can feel that pulling energy out of me, so it's
then we
really
just-
incredible.
Yeah, so then we just take the forks and the vibration actually goes through the front of the field, clearing a pathway for this energy to move through.
Just kick this a little.
You're hot, yeah.
I felt the warm spot right here on the side. Just
So
like
that
right-
spot actually is the world pain spot. So people who carry a lot of, the weight of the world on their shoulders, so to speak, will have a lot of energy built up off of this left area.
right here, like all of a sudden, I feel like it's actually
That's how it's turning.
warm to the touch from one side to the other.
Yeah.
Right here.
So people who are constantly watching the news, feeling sorry for,
I never watched that.
you know, the pain of the animals,
Okay,
the
that would
pain
be.
of all the stuff that's going on, will have a lot of blockage right in this area that doesn't move.
I'm the person that cries when I pass by a deer on the side of the road. Alright, now what are you looking at?
I was looking to see how her shoulders are, because typically, we get a drop in the shoulder that is worked on, but it seems to be that actually is setting up higher than the other one. But typically, the shoulders will be, become out of balance because you'll be relaxed on one side. So we're moving to the other side, so now the camera should be able to pick it up if it didn't before. Take that deep breath for me. How you feeling? What you noticing in the body? You were
Um,
hot, you were tingling.
Yeah, and my right side, like is my legs.
Mm-hmm.
I have an issue sometimes with my shoulder.
Ah.
So do you have bruises on your hips from constantly hitting yourself?
I have enough padding there. I'm able to hit it just right.
I feel something funny in my collarbone,
Okay.
and I broke my collarbone when I was a child.
Ah. So we'll find, those kinds of accidents put stress and if you think about it like a radio station, that's, okay, so I'm showing my age, not the digital radio station that we have now, the kind that you have to tune in.
Yep.
You have to get it just right. When you have all of that static in your radio signal, you want a clear signal. That's really what all this is out here. This is static. This is incoherence. It's sound waves that are in our energy field that are just kind of like this, and you just want them to be smooth. You want them to be in tune, and so that's essentially what this does. Is it tunes the body, it tunes the energy field, and creates coherence. It creates a smooth playing field, a smooth, just a clearer signal, so that everything else can run better.
How do you feel?
Good. Sometimes this can be a little nerve-wracking for people, because then they think they're going to sit in the chair and I'm going to start bringing up all their stuff. And I wouldn't do that to you here in front of the whole
And
group.
that's not necessarily what it's
No,
about. 'Cause
it is
even when
not
I sat with
necessarily
you,
about that.
I cried, I slept, I felt weird, but
It's about creating wellness, because
it's about you
essentially,
acknowledging, not necessarily verbalizing, but you acknowledging, yes, I sense that there's something I need to address there, or I acknowledge that there's something I need to overcome here. That acknowledgement, you don't have to say what it is, that acknowledgement in and of itself is enough.
and what I'm finding now is that a lot of it we don't really even need to know. It's just chaos in our field that needs to be cleared up. And I had a session that I had done on myself, and I usually tell people, because this acts like the needle on a record, memories will pop into your mind that you have not thought about in a really long time. Because it is reading the music. But if I say an age and you can't remember anything, it's okay. You don't need to search for anything. You don't need to fit that, square peg into that round hole. I had a session done on myself where it was like 2 years old, and I was like, I don't know, I got nothing. And I do have clients who have specific memories from 2 years old. And then most people don't
My
remember.
mother,
But as I
she
was,
remember that stuff.
yeah, so as I was being worked on, it was a really sticky spot, and she just couldn't get through it. And so we left it like that, and 2 months later, I remembered it. I had ear surgery. And it's a very significant memory that I have carried at 2 years old, that I remember being in the hospital on the gurney. I remember them putting the mask over my face. And so at 2 years old, it was traumatic for me. It was a big deal. But I didn't remember it at the time. And I didn't really necessarily need to remember it. But
That's incredible.
so it was resolved.
Are you having memories come back to you?
I just had my appendix out at 5 years old.
And that's about where she was at that moment. That is incredible. I'm giddy over this. I know it's kind of dorky, but this is really fascinating.
It is
stuff to me.
quite fascinating.
There's so much we don't understand about healing.
There's a lot we don't know. Absolutely. And so we just find that, people who find biofield tuning or Reiki, whatever it is, usually they just feel better. You just feel better. You feel lighter. You feel, more balanced. It's about balance.
And if you want to learn more about energetic healing, for those of you that do watch TV from time to time, Netflix has a series right now called The Goop. It's with Gwyneth Paltrow, and it's really interesting because she has taken it upon herself, and everyone thinks Gwyneth Paltrow is an actress, but they're people. It's her job, just like a grocery store clerk. That's their job. It makes them no different. But she went on this journey to kind of talk about some of these modalities and discover them for herself and reach through them. And she actually brought in an energy healer Not the same kind of energy healing, but still we're talking about biofield and the energetic circle around us. It's just really interesting. There's about 5 episodes, so if you wanted to watch a little bit more information about energy healing, that's a great place to look. Also, there's a lot of really good resources. Tammy's got some good links on her site, and you can learn a little bit more about biofield tuning and discover that modality a little bit more as well. And I always encourage people, take your health into your own hands, be your own health advocate, because you're the only one that knows how your body feels. No doctor can tell you by looking at your blood, oh, you're a norm. They're looking at this huge bell curve, or, excuse me, if you see a counselor, they're looking at a huge bell curve of a norm. No one's inside your body more than you, so you need to take ownership of all of your feelings, whether that's a physical or emotional. So I encourage you to definitely be your own health advocate.
The internet has been, you know, you can't believe everything you read on the internet.
But it's good and bad.
But it is a resource to use your own discernment, to do your own research, because nobody cares about you like you care about you. And you know, that is a huge thing for me. Is this is helping your body to remember how powerful it is, and to remember its own ability to heal. We give up way too quick. We run to the drugstore because we want that congestion to go away, and we go take a pill that really just covers up what the issue is. There are many things that can help that are more of a natural state that are safe, and it's just a matter of finding what those are. So everybody take a big deep breath for me. Let that out. How are you feeling?
Weird. Does feel a little weird.
Yeah, so you find your balance, and you know, typically you feel lighter, and yeah, and just remember to breathe. And after this kind of work, we drink lots of water, and we suggest that you do an Epsom salt bath. That helps to move things through. Yeah, so yeah, we drink, yeah,
That's it.
drink some water, and yeah, so I can be found at energeticapothecary.com, and also at reikiforwellness.org if you're interested in reading more about the work that I do at the hospital with my
And I will
partner
definitely
Miri.
put those links up on the Facebook site for you as well. This will be re-aired on our Facebook and on our YouTube, so if you weren't able to watch live, which I know some of you were not, you can share this with a friend. This is really valuable healing information, and thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you, Tammy, for coming out. We really appreciate you, and we will, like I said, we will be putting this online as well. So have a wonderful weekend. Thank you so much.